All right, man. What's going on? It's been a little while.
It's been a really long while, and
I,
a lot has happened since. It's been 3 months, which feels like 3 years, basically.
it's been longer than that since we've done a podcast, I think, right? But we just haven't had time. It's okay. We'll get back on track. So the Strait
Oh
of
yeah, but
Hormuz supposedly
you've
opened
you've
up, by
been
the way.
quite active with the podcast, so
Dude,
you
I know.
haven't missed too many.
I know. I've been a busy boy. By the way, though, did you see that I was right about inflation?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day, and the call was so controversial when you launched it at first because everybody was expecting and pricing in the rate cuts, and then you're out here talking about higher inflation.
They said,
You seem like a madman for a second, but
they
now
said,
that the Fed is pivoting, nobody's questioning it.
they said that the great Professor Tim was a fool. But look at that. I was
Indeed,
right.
indeed,
We'll see.
indeed.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
We get a little
Although,
push from the back from the energy shock that we had, but well done.
in all fairness, I didn't see that the whole war in Iran. I didn't see that one coming, but that's okay. That's fine. Um, Quick note. So a kid reached out to me yesterday from the university and said, I want to get into finance. And my first piece of advice was, don't
Don't
do
do
it.
it.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. Then he's like, look, I don't know what I want to do. I just know I want to be in the business. I'm like, why would you want to do that? And I asked him, which is kind of sad, but it's true. And I think because this has something to do with the whole AI taking over entry level job scenario. And I asked him a very simple question: what do you know how to do after 3 years of being a university student? And at the end of that, like long, silent awkwardness, not much, right? That was the answer, not much. And that's kind of crappy. So, yeah, I don't know how much of it is AI, and I think quite a bit of it is also the fact that these kids don't know how to actually do anything. So, something to think about. But I'm making a video on what you should at least be reading if you are a finance student. So I'll post that shortly.
That for starters, but also I think there are so many people who have the wrong idea about working in finance or any of those professions that seem so glamorous on the internet when you look at it or in movies. I mean, you have finance, you have law also, which are really nobody talks about the long hours and basically
Suits.
the constant fatigue that you have exactly, or billions for
Oh my god,
yeah,
it
it's
is
more or
not.
less the same thing but a different field.
Yeah, it's
And you
it's
have so many people just seeing the booze, the money, they're seeing the parties, they're seeing hanging out with all rich people and throwing out random stock recommendations, but that's not really what it's about.
it's
And
not.
there are so few people who actually cover like you're talking about constantly, like the everyday life and the nitty and gritty of working in finance.
I'm doing 12-hour days now. I haven't worked this hard since I got 15 years ago at Merrill Lynch. It's been that long.
And
And I'm not even this semester. I'm not teaching, so it's crazy that I'm working this many hours. I'm not even teaching, but there's just so much to do because there are four. Here's something interesting, and it's now been what 15, 16 years I've been doing this. We've got four big things going on right now. We've got AI, right? That's a big one. We've got private credit, which no one's talking about now because of inflation with the war in Iran and energy prices. But private credit's a nightmare. It's interesting. I was talking to somebody who is in private credit, and I'm like, "Why are you in this?" He's like, "I have no idea what it was. They just told me they'd give me 9.5%." I'm like, "Think about that for a minute. Like why? Think." Um, then you've got obviously inflation, and also the big demographics issue, and then the war in Iran and energy prices. Which there's a ceasefire now, so I think oil came down. What was it, 15% on the barrel in one day?
15% down to roughly 90 or so, I think.
And the whole AI debt boom, which I don't know if you saw this, by the way. Bloomberg brought it up. The PIMCO seeks to sell parts of the $14 billion Oracle data center debt.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so I'm curious to see. I think everyone's gonna have to start producing some actual profits and revenues to justify all the spending. Which I'm a big AI fan. I don't know if it'll get rid of all
We,
of us.
we both are, but people have been basically just throwing out debt correlated to AI, and they were buying it, but now it's sort of like a hot potato game where everybody's just trying to get rid of it because
It's kind of fascinating. It's interesting. Years ago, this was 24 years ago now. I was over at Yale, and the big discussion then was like, oh my gosh, Beyond Meat and like all these things that now seem so trivial and stupid. But at the time, they were kind of interesting. But now it's like, bro, there's just so much going on. So if I were a 20-year-old university student, like who is interested in finance. Although, quick note: you are one of, I think you might be the only person in my now 4 years of teaching that understands the difference between this is a passion and this is a hobby.
That's flattering, bro.
Well, shut up. But
That's
anyway,
quite flattering.
shut up. Shut up, bruv, as the Brits would say. No, but really, it's interesting because there is. Goes back to the discussion that I had with this kid yesterday. I'm like, bro, is this a passion for you? And he's like, oh yeah. I go to like a Bitcoin summit. I'm like, it's not a no.
I've never been to one,
Uh,
and I'm quite passionate about crypto, but I've never been to one because I don't see any value in those things.
Years ago, I was invited to speak at one. It was actually a lot of fun, but it was weird because essentially what they did was they said, get up and just say whatever you think about. And I'm not a specialist on cryptocurrencies, although I find the technology fascinating. It's going to be destroyed by human nature, right? I've been saying that forever now. I think AI too. The technology is fascinating, and then human nature has just perverted it, and like now we're worried about. Did you see that new Claude mythos?
I did. The mythos one that they keeping locked in a box.
But he got out of the box.
It did. It managed to escape, actually.
Is it true? I don't know this. This was just quick. I hate social media now, but I saw a quick thing where they're like, it got out of the box, and then it posted online that it got out of the box. Is that true?
It is. It's on its own thing now. And I think it's also a bit of marketing because it's an up-and-coming model, and they're trying to hype it up as much as possible.
It is pretty
good,
good,
though. The way they're talking about it now, it's as close to AGI as we've come. But we have to see when you put it in practice because, like we both know, we've been messing around with all of the models for a while now. And they're decent. They're an accelerator of what you already know, but as a standalone tool, they're not there yet.
I'll tell you something interesting.
Right.
I'm worried about the quality of college students and the let me be fancy, the naivete of that they have when it comes to using AI for anything in the investment world. I've noticed that if you don't know anything, AI is incredible. It's amazing. If you know a little bit, it's like it's a little strange. If you know a lot, it's like nah, it's just not quite right. Like for example, I've been playing around with AI to do my taxes in the U.S. right, just for fun. I have a CPA. I've got a kind of a team at a big firm that does them. But I'm trying to see, is it something that I can do? The reality is I wouldn't do it personally. There are some things that that are not worth the risk. You know, I would not farm out my taxes and my health stuff.
Oh God, man.
I probably wouldn't do that. I wouldn't give it all my money to invest for me. I'd be a little scared. Although the average investor, I still think that if you've got under $1 million, you should look at just keeping it as simple as possible, right? That's been my belief for 15 years. I've always thought that you should just keep it as simple as possible.
And the statistic is on your side. Most people that do that just outperform the average investor.
Yeah. Quick note on outperforming the emphasis on average investor.
Average investor, not the market. We're not talking about the market here, just the investor.
What's the name of that study? I think Dalbar did it, where they compared the average, the return of the average investor to, I want to say it's the S&P. Is it? Okay. And it was like a 7 or 8%. Like it was a huge difference, underperformance, because they kept screwing around.
Exactly.
And here's the thing: it is getting worse. The screwing around is getting worse, partially because you are so bombarded with news. Like here's a perfect example. I keep Bloomberg on in the background all the time. All right, it soothes me at times. But quick note, no, it's just habit. Always I had it on even
it costs paying billions. Be honest now,
bro. I mean, all the time. I mean, just literally. It's been since 2000. Since 15 years ago, I've been doing that. But anyway, 2 days ago, before the Strait reopened, because apparently somebody got bombed again.
Exactly, it's closed down.
God forbid. I mean, these things are crazy, but I'm totally against the war. It doesn't matter. This isn't a personal thing here. But you listen to Bloomberg, and they're like, it's the end of the world. Probably rightfully so for the moment, because it is scary, right? The Strait of Hormuz closing. big issue? Is it 20 or 25% of daily volume goes
It's
through?
25, and I think sort of like 12 million barrels were affected
I don't know, a lot, but right. So huge.
per
And then you
day.
got
Per day.
everybody's hanging out there and stuff. And the interesting thing is seeing the difference between the spot price of Brent crude, right,
Hmm.
and then the actual price of, like, for example, jet fuel and the end product, right? Because that's quick note, quick aside. Do you remember years ago? This was during the pandemic. The price of timber skyrocketed. Like, it went crazy. Do you remember why that was the case?
Well, everybody was stuck at home, and what do you do when you're at home and bored? You start to look around at what you can renovate,
You
build, and
find out
fill your
you're,
time with.
you're, you're into home improvement. No, but yes, but uh,
Exactly.
demand was one thing. But do you remember what the big issue was? Because everyone thought it was the number of trees. Like, our forests aren't as big as they used to be. And then, like,
Was it the processing?
it was the timber mills. You didn't have
I
enough
see.
mills. That was the issue. So the issue that you're having with oil, I think, and it's not just me that says this. There was a pretty good podcast from Bloomberg on this, and they were talking about the fact that the issue that you're having with oil is not necessarily the amount of crude, right? The amount of oil that there is there, but the fact that these refineries are having to diminish production capacity without shutting down, because if they shut down, it takes forever to restart. I don't know. I'm not in the business. And at that point, what you have is the cost of the refinement process has gone up because of logistics. And so at that point, you're looking at, like, it's weird because it is same issue, different commodity. It's not
Indeed.
wood this time, but this time it's oil. That's kind of fascinating when you think about it. I thought that was kind of cool.
It
So
is. It is. It's something
um,
that you don't think about usually.
no, 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 definitely not. So I thought, you know what, that's all right. I learned something today. But history, dude, when it comes to this business, history repeats itself. And even with this whole AI thing, it is. I'm always scared to say it's different this time. I never say it. I always say it when people say that. But years ago, Irrational Exuberance, Bob Shiller, right? He wrote the book. Professor at Yale. He's one of the reasons I went to Yale, actually.
Great guy and great book.
Dude,
Highly recommended.
I'll tell you though, not the best professor. Like, let's rephrase: great professor, not the best speaker. There's a difference.
No, he has a great mind, but his rhetoric is not there.
I mean,
There's also
you're
an
getting
online course which you can take with him, but it's not
well.
ideal if you want to learn.
No, no, no. But here's something interesting, though. He was talking he came and spoke in a class, and it was kind of interesting. But he was talking about something that I thought was kind of cool. And the thing he was discussing was, hey, 100 years ago, we're talking 1920s and 30s, everyone was freaked out that robots were going to take your jobs. This was 100 years ago, man. Like, think
Oh
about
yeah,
that. So in the 20s and 30s, literally everybody was absolutely freaked out about the fact that, hey, this is, robots are going to take our jobs. Um, think about the fact that, have you seen The Imitation Game
I
with
have.
that was World War II, and these guys were barely figuring out computers, right, to crack Enigma and all that. It was cool, right? The Turing machine. And 20 years before that, everyone's freaking out that robots are going to take over. I mean, like, maybe the news, going back to the average investor, it's getting so much harder to freaking chill out, like, to just stay calm and not make a stupid choice.
It isn't. I think one of the factors is also that for the average person, the technology just pop out of nowhere. I mean, the technology has been around since the 60s, but people weren't acquainted to it.
Yeah.
And
I,
now everybody gets to use it out of nowhere because it's been around for what, 2, 3 years?
well,
And
2023, right?
3 years or so, yeah. I think
I think.
November, December 2023. And for most
Uh,
people, it came out of nowhere. So it's a shock that the technological advancement just popped up.
so you work for the European. You work for Oracle, right? But the European team,
I do,
right? Okay.
exactly.
So, quick note on that, because I thought this was interesting. Because I saw that, I was like, oh man, everyone's gonna lose their job. And then, did you look at do I still have the chart? Let me see if I still have the chart. I found this online. I don't know if it's how legitimate it is. I think it's pretty legitimate, but I'll research it a bit more. But even if not, let me just talk about it quickly. Do you know how many employees Oracle had before the sell off? I'm sorry, before the sell off, before the mass, which I thought was awful. I mean, come on, these people are giving you a portion of their lives, are working for you, and you're
Exactly.
sending them an email. I thought
But
that was
mostly senior people. I think Oracle had around 150,000 employees or so, maybe
160.
60,
160.
roughly that.
Yeah. Historically, do you know how many employees Oracle had going back to like 2012, for example?
12. I would assume it was quite constant until the pandemic or so, maybe a little bit afterwards, and then they should have seen, like everybody in the industry, like a really, really big bump in the number of employees for some reason.
Dude, here's something interesting. So, fun little chart I was just checking out. So, in 2014, 120,000. In 2018, 135-ish thousand. 2021 and 2020, 130-ish thousand. Literally, 2023 comes up. They're going from 135, 140,000 up to 162.
And that's in 1 year,
1 year.
right?
And then Dorsey's block, I think they had something like 4,000 employees, and then they went up to like 8 or 12 or something like that. And my question is, how do you increase headcount 30% or double it, and think that revenue is going to follow and not have layoffs afterwards?
My theory is that everybody was gearing up for consistent and prolonged growth, but it wasn't the case at all.
From
Because
where?
you can see like Oracle, 30,000 employees out of nowhere. That's clearly, you assume that you're going to need more people. Because I can't imagine that in 1 year things change that much that the 130,000 people are not sufficient anymore. So it must be something else. It must be like the future perspective of it.
Which I'm just not. Really, you should fire your CFO is who you should fire. My God, at that
They
point.
hired a new one like the other day or so.
I saw like a good pay package as well, which people are kind of upset about. Although I want to stress something, and this is just a personal rant here. If it's a private company, I really don't care, right? Because it's a private company, does whatever they want. They have shareholders they have to answer to. And if the shareholders are unhappy, you should sell the stock, or you should go and vote and change the board. Which I'll tell you something fascinating. I've never met anyone in 15 years that actually votes as a shareholder.
Interesting.
Never.
So
Have you? Have you ever heard of
vote
anyone
right
voting?
is there, but people don't use it.
Nobody vote. I've never met them. Maybe they do, but I've never met them. I'm sure that these people
Me
exist.
neither. And
No.
I think there's an inverse relationship between the numbers of shares you have and the attention that you pay to the votes. Like people with one share spend the time to look at the earning calls and vote and do stuff like that.
It's like
And
those
then, I mean,
memes
up to a
online.
point, of course, if you have a lot of...
It's like those memes online where the guy's like, "Oh, he's on a yacht because he got his 40-cent dividend from the S&P 500 ETF."
Exactly.
Those are the best. Yes, but no,
like
but
the setup that people have for, I don't know, managing a 10K portfolio and the setup that people have who manage millions have.
I know, right? The guy that manages
At the
100
end of the
million.
day, it's just a MacBook, and that's about it.
Yeah, the guy that's managing 100 million is doing it on his MacBook Air. The guy that's managing a billion is doing it on his iPhone.
Somebody's talking from experience.
Something, yeah. I'm not going to go further into that. But the interesting thing is, so you're on the European side of Oracle, right? And cool, everything's nice. And then they go ahead and do that. And then you see companies now. I did a whole thing on mean reversion. It was like a little video. Although I got a message from someone saying like, dude, finally someone just says that it's not about the news. It's not about anything. It's just about possibly it's been too much and it's got to come back to normal.
Going back to the normal, basically.
So we're going to wrap it up because we don't want to stay too long here because we both got work to do. But in the beginning of the year, end of last year, everyone was doing the whole sell America thing, right? Go into Europe and Asia. Did you see that earlier this year, the South Koreans had the worst sell-off, one-day sell-off ever? I think it was 12%. I am going to go ahead and say, this was interesting. A day before the Strait opened, everyone, the U.S. is in trouble. Everything is doomsday. The next day, yesterday, everyone was like, you know what? The U.S. has this absolutely incredible moat, and they're fantastic, and they've got all these things going for them. So we're going to stick with the U.S. If an investor, and this is not investment advice, never was, but if you could just chill out and stop looking at the news, I think you'll be a lot wealthier.
Oh yeah, like we've mentioned, the more you reduce the number of trades or ideas that you have, the more money you're going to make.
Who did a study on this? I was it Black?
Well, there's also the study about why women are better investors than men.
They really are.
And it's not about any of the biologics or intellectual ability or anything like that.
No.
It's just about the number of traits that they take on.
Interestingly, I know for the most part, women truly are better investors than men. And you know what? One reason why I think that's the case is a very unpopular reason. I think more
Emotional
women
intelligence,
feel.
maybe?
No. I think it's that women don't feel the same need as men do, and this is just an opinion here, to prove something. Years ago, I spoke with a guy, and he's just like, it was always very, very, very combative, and his wife was like, you know what, we got two separate accounts. You do whatever you want in my account, and you and him can fight it out over his account. Her account, even though it was more conservative from a standard deviation standpoint, interestingly, had better returns. And it all had to do with the fact that we'll call him Paul. Why not? We'll call him Paulie. I said, Paulie, listen, maybe like you got to decide, do you want to argue with me or do you want to just make more money? Like you got to figure out, like, do you want to prove that you're right and argue, or do you just want to enjoy the wealth? And it's interesting. I think it has to do with the fact that women understand that the value of like self-worth does not come from being right when it comes to investments. It actually comes, or thinking that you're right. It comes from actually making money, which I think is kind of fascinating. So that's why I think these women, when they invest, they have nothing to prove. They just want to turn a good profit, understand what's going on. I think that's freaking smart.
It's a lesson to learn about investing.
Anyway, so we'll see. But we do this again next week.
Let's do it. We should stick to a schedule because
We
otherwise
will.
it's going to be months again until the next.
I know. It's my fault though. But you know what? Things are going well, so
that's busy. You can't complain.
Thank God. No, thank God. Can't complain.
All right, cool. Working in finance, long days, even when you're super senior and have your own business.
Long days, short nights, and a lot of stress in between. But you want to know something? I'll tell you this. Sometimes at night, when it's like 9 o'clock at night and I'm still working, I look out the window and I'm just like, I get a message from a client or from whoever, and they're like really happy, and they're like, look, things are going not well in the market, but we're doing okay. I'm really thankful. Like I got some nice messages, and they're sometimes when it's that late and I'm still working and I get one of those, God, I love this business.
It's all worth it.
Love this business. I'm still not gonna let my kids get into it though, but I love this business.
You're wishing the best for them, not to have a painful life.
Who was it that said? I don't know. It was from some movie. It's like, I think it was Glenn Ross. Have you seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah, I think I know where you're getting.
No, but correct me. It might not be. Maybe I'm confusing it. But it's like I wish you luck, but you wouldn't know what to do with it if you had it. I think it's from someone's gonna correct me. But if not, yeah. So I'd wish them luck. If you want to get into the business now. Although interesting, and then we'll wrap up with this. McKinsey put out a study. I think in about 9 years or so, almost a third of the people that do what I do are either dead or retired.
Interesting.
Something to think about. Yeah, there's a real talent crisis. All right, dude. I'll talk to you a little bit later, man.
Dude, enjoy the day, and good luck with all the work. And we'll talk next week.
You too.